It's working.
There we go.
Awesome. So I normally ask how you've been, but I kind of already know a little bit. You've been through quite the ordeal, haven't you?
Yeah, still kind of lingering.
Well, it's crazy. That that kind of thing happens so often with me and people. Because a lot of times there's some subconscious stuff going on from within us, and oftentimes even some, we'll just say, energies and entities that are sometimes involved in people. Not to freak you out or anything, I don't get that with you, but a lot of times people will literally have attachments to them that will sabotage their everyday working life and give them reasons or excuses to kind of latch onto. In this line of work, it's really, really common. So when I heard that you got sick literally right before, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense because even when I first talked to you, I had so much coming through. I'm being reminded right now too that it would be a good idea for me to get a piece of paper and a writing utensil as we go about this because I might be picking up on stuff as you respond and talk with me. Actually, it's right here. There we go. I don't normally do this, but I feel like it's going to be very helpful with you. So like as I'm getting like multiple streams of things and we're talking about stuff, I can take notes so that I won't forget about it when we revisit it later. A lot of times when I channel, it will branch out like that. And for me, it's like get on the train or I'm not gonna pick up on it. I'm not gonna get it. There's another aspect too I want to say before we get into this. Um, typically, when we, like, for example, when we go through like a healing program with what Margot is on and many other people, it's like an hour-long session where we do a little bit of healing and a little bit of reading as well. We'll launch into the reading here and now, but I have a feeling that there might be a point during this that I will um, ask you to kind of go with me on a sort of like guided exercise, I guess you could say, or something that can just help you energetically um, navigate what you're navigating these days. Um, Specifically about your career. So it's gonna help you discern and to kind of cut through all of the noise. Um, Also, at any other time that we're going through whatever we're going through, you're more than welcome to interrupt me or to posit a question. If you've got something come up and you want to ask it in that moment, please do. Otherwise, I'm just kind of like a smorgasbord type of deal where we just go with whatever I'm being drawn to, whatever I hear, whatever I see, whatever I feel. Okay? All right, so I'm seeing a triangle right off the top as we're doing this. I'm seeing a blue triangle. They want me to ask you, do you want to get straight into the work related stuff, or do you want to get into the stuff about your son first? Because we can dig a little bit into that. There's a little bit of a layover. Um, but if you have like specific pointed questions you want to ask, we can go from there as a springboard.
Well, I'm thinking that I think you know where you need to go with me.
Okay.
When you say the sun, is that my Libra sign or
I'm seeing like a son, like a son or daughter, a son.
oh, well, I don't have a son. I have three daughters. My oldest is 40, and then I have a set of twins that are 26. And there was a lot of issues with that relationship. We weren't married, but it was horrific.
Did you, I'm sorry if I'll just be pointed with it, but did you ever have a miscarriage at one point?
Yes.
That's who this is. He's your
And
son.
it's actually with the my significant other that
prior?
no, we're still at 20, it'll be 22 years that we've been together. And in 2008, I had a miscarriage.
Do you have like a J name, like James? Because it's coming up as like a James for me.
James was my dad's father's name. No, I didn't have a name.
He wants to be called James. It could also be because of the company that he's in. A lot of times I'll get like crowds of people, but he's
Hmm.
just like rushed right in. It's this like son. I know without a shadow of a doubt he's your son. Um, he's got brown hair, he's a little tall, he's got like blue eyes. Um, he really likes bugs. He likes beetles. He's showing me like a Hercules beetle, that beetle that has like a really long um what do you call it? Horn,
Hmm.
I guess. Also seeing macaroni and cheese. A lot of times, how do I say this? When if souls never had a chance to live or to flesh out experiences, I can sometimes pick up on things beyond words. Like I'll get images, I'll hear sounds, I'll get feelings. That's what I'm getting purely with this guy. I'm also
Would
seeing.
this be me, or my oldest daughter had two SID deaths. The first one was 3 weeks, and her name was Lydia and passed. And then we had Blake, who was a boy,
Hmm,
and he was here with us for like 3.5 months.
this is you. This is not your daughters.
Okay.
Mhm. I'm also hearing your guide say like kind of in a teasing way, it's like, oh, she's always looking to see how she can help others or make it about others. And we talked a little bit about that before too. Um, it's part of an example of that. They also want to iterate again too. I'm sorry, this might go all over, this might zigzag, go in a lot of different places. Um, they're also talking about how you need to see that less is more. You need to embody this. You need to trust this, and you need to let go of a lot of things. You need to let go of the failures as a bad thing. Well, we're not just talking about Alevea, we're talking about what happened with you with the humiliation. This was to help you cut your losses before they got worse and started rotting away. It would have been like a festering ailment that would have been much more difficult to heal from if it would have gone even further without you knowing. I know it still feels like, you had the wool pulled over your eyes or you had rose-colored glasses or whatever, but and it was pretty nasty, spectacular way that you were betrayed, but it could have been way worse if it wasn't. I feel like your team stepped in and let this crash happen for you. Otherwise, it would have gone and been strung out even more. I'm seeing crystal glasses like not neon, but like sky blue, like baby blue, like a turquoise blue, uh like crystal glasses. Like just it gives me the impression of being very fine glassware.
Well,
You're
I have this Fenton blue glass on my desk that I use for my
okay.
pen holder.
That's precisely the color I was seeing. I don't know if they're saying that, bringing that up for like a anchor point for you or for like okay, here's some proof. Did you ask for some signs? They might be coming in random ways for me. I don't know if that was the macaroni and cheese that
Well,
earlier.
well, the macaroni and cheese would be my grandson that is presently living. Um, and the blue Fenton glass is I got this at a antiques shop up in Michigan, but I bought it because my grandmother, my great grandmother, gave this to my dad and my mom. And my mom's passed, but my dad is not willing to get his affairs in order. So
Mm.
I'm picking things up that didn't come from them, but the memory is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. So when you're talking about your family, I'm seeing like I feel like a lot of it is systematic. It feels like going through motions. I'm seeing like the inside of a clock or like a wristwatch. So to me, it feels like there's a lot of like a cold dynamic that happens between you and your immediate family, especially those older than you. Like not just your parents, but your aunts and uncles. There's this kind of disconnect between the heart and the mind. And I feel like a lot of growing up might have been like, this is the way you do it. Otherwise, you're SOL, and that's just the way it is. And there was very little room about like how you felt or any room to to hold and cherish human beings or to have human relationships. It was, do you know what I mean? It seems like very cut and dry and very like maybe the adults in your family ran the family as if it were a business and they streamlined things and it was very much just like transactional, I feel. It's a familiar feeling for me. And it also reminds me of this Virgo type energy. I was going to ask you this too if you're a Virgo. Did we talk about this before?
I'm a Libra, but I have a lot of Virgo in my
Yeah,
astrology chart.
that's what it is. Yeah, no, I remember we did talk about this. Yeah, you are a Libra. But yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. It's got a lot of Virgo energy coming through, and there's a lot to heal from that.
Right.
Um, so many directions this can go. We can talk about your career right now and sort of how, so I think you realize this, but they want to reiterate this. You need to be focusing more on how can you discern better? How can you be more efficient? But I feel like the bottleneck for that is letting go of what isn't going to work because you feel determined to see through any process, whether it appears to be fruiting something or not, just to give it like the benefit of the doubt to make sure that you've been thorough as you possibly could be before it crashes and burns. And there, your guides are challenging you to let go of that notion that it's okay to let things go, even if there's still potential left over. You are not wasting anything. There's this subtle feeling of shame if you were to drop some sort of opportunity or possibility or avenue from this particular angle that you're addressing when it comes to the overall business. And it's almost like you'd feel personally responsible beyond what you should if you were to let go of something before you saw where it could lead. Because there's all these other things coming in the periphery at the same time that you're trying to flesh out whatever process that could be. So it's kind of twofold. It's like you're sort of at the buffet line and you're putting too many items onto your plate at a time. So you really just need to take that plate back to your booth and eat what you've got first, and then go back and trust that the food is going to be there. A There's a little bit of a subconscious like, well, I don't know if the chicken's going to be out by the time I go back to revisit it. I see it here and now. I might as well take the opportunity now because I don't know whenever else it's going to be here. There's a need to trust that, and then there's another need to just digest what you've got on your plate already. And then there's sort of a third thing where it's like, if you happen to pile on too much, let the grape tomatoes fall off the plate and bounce on the ground and let someone vacuum it up. It's not what you should be um, responsible for. I'm seeing the image too. It's like out here in where we're living, they have a different culture than we do, where there's negative aspects to it and positive aspects to it. But the positive aspect is it's like if you go out and you grab a mango off a tree, there isn't a certain amount of anxiety, but like, oh my God, I got to get that mango because there are literally thousands of mangoes anywhere that you could pick at any given moment, at any given time. People trust that the environment is going to provide, and it does. And also, once you eat your mango, if you're full, and because there's so much abundance, you can throw that mango in the bushes and you're not going to feel bad about it because it's almost like a natural thing. It's just like, whoop, there it goes. But for us, it's like, oh my God, I'm littering. And that's, terrible. It's like ingrained within. And I still have a little bit of that in me whenever I live here. Um, because there is a negative aspect to it. There are people that litter. But for the sake of an analogy, it's like you've got this fruit basket and you've like tried this and tried this and tried that, and you feel like I have to eat all these fruits right now because as I'm eating them, more are piling on. And I have to figure out which ones are good and which ones are useful and which ones are nourishing and which ones are poison. And there's this overarching anxiety of how the hell do I choose and discern? Because God forbid, what happens if I toss out something that is golden? What if I don't nurture a human tie that should be nurtured, that will lead me somewhere really, really great? That's a win-win for both of us down the line because I'm so distracted by all the other fruits I have to process in my basket at the moment. Not just other relationships, but other tasks and quote unquote responsibilities that you feel completely and totally obligated towards. So I feel like logistically, it's an issue of delegation, which is really just boiled down to trust. Can I trust other processes, other people, streamlining something, trimming the hedge, cutting the fat? How do I do that? And by doing so, am I kind of shooting myself in the foot because this could be very much potential for me to grow? I think that you're right about a lot of this stuff being potential, but what you're wrong about is that if you let go of a lot of it, it's not going to be forever gone. I think it'll show up again when it needs to, when that's gonna be more natural as a process. Because right now you kind of feel a little bit like a squirrel that's collecting too many acorns for the winter to the point where you can't manage all of it unless you have another team of squirrels that are helping you in this process. But this topic kind of bleeds into another subtopic, which is with the Alevea thing specifically. It's like that's a mess if you ask me. Just because the values don't align between the employees, we'll say, and the so-called leaders. There's such a disconnect, and it's growing wider each day. And
Division.
yeah, and if you ask me, I've told Margot this too. This is my professional opinion. I think that people like you and Margot, and there's another gal in there too who's actually got her heart and soul into it. You three would make a hell of a lot better team than they would, and it might even be a good idea to create your own thing, um, based off of kind of what you guys are doing, but without being so stuck on the specifics of what he gets his undies in a bunch on, like all his stupid trademarks and his like me kind of things, which is just it's petty, because it should be about the service and what it's doing for people rather than what specifically it is. And I've got to guard this because this is the way and it's the only way. It's very dogmatic. It's almost like a overzealous religious like doctrine. And it shouldn't be that way. It gets in the way. So
One thing that I am is I'm not a follower,
yeah,
and I'm here to create and shake this world up.
for
And I
sure.
know that. And I have the Gate 51, but that's shock. And I'm here, according to my human design reading, is I'm here for the next best business idea. And I have all those, but it's like we're going backwards.
I'm getting some stuff. I'm going to kind of blurb on you a little bit. But your guides and my guides are inviting me to share this. I'll look at the time, make sure I don't go too off track. But um, this has been something that has been frustrating me to my core for a very long time. And there's a sort of irony. There's a sort of irony in this, in that the next big business or the next best business is really going to come from not being business oriented. Meaning that a lot of what we've been conditioned for the past like 60 years, I'm seeing that specific number right now written up, past 60 years. So what would that be? That'd be like the 1980s or so.
I was born in 64 and I'm 61, so
Yeah, or
it's
1960s. Yeah. Um, So, around the time that they were like, oh, low fat, and they tried to sell everybody on the low fat stuff, and they just like pour a bunch of sugar and artificial sweeteners and all the colas and everything else, and they marketed it as so much of a healthier substitute, but it actually addicted people more. It increased sales and it set up the entire civilization for diabetes and pre-diabetes for decades after, and we're still kind of healing from that. Um, I've always seen that where we're at right now is right on the edge of a future where people are going to look for the imperfect. They're going to look for the human aspect of how we can interact. And that has nothing to do with how marketers have systematized their funnels, how they've created these terms, how they've sort of cracked the code on psychology. But this psychology is a phase and it's going to burn out. And you're already starting to see that burnout with Gen Z and with Gen Alpha. They are not created the same way and they haven't gone through the same experiences and the same upbringings that we have. I'm a millennial, but it's still on the tail end of it. But it's like I grew up with a bombardment of the senses with advertisements and suggestions and societal norms. And especially, I can say, they're telling me, as a projector, you need to be especially careful with this and taste all the different interactions you have with people to see, does this taste right? Does that taste right? Like including what I'm saying, um, especially with regards to how susceptible you are to conditioning. So it's sort of a double-edged sword for you. The condition can be good or it can be bad. It just depends on what's actually good for society. And you're right. You're here to sort of shape what's being produced and being created, right? From manifestors and from generators. Uh, but you shape it all. And if you find yourself at a shit farm, you're just going to concentrate the shit. It could be good if a very concentrated fertilizer is needed, but if it's a fruit farm, you're going to make it that much sweeter and make that jam with all these raw fruits being thrown into the mix. So you have to be careful about that. And that's what's going to challenge you because logistically, you're ready to just boom, go and go fast. But that's not always the best. Sometimes it's good for you, but other times it's not. You have to kind of like take a step back and challenge yourself, even if you're invited to, you can give it the benefit of the doubt, but if a group or if an idea sort of invites you, taste it first and then trust what you're sensing to make the next move. You can drop ideas, you can drop people, but do so in the spirit of trusting that if that truly was meant for you, it's going to be available to you at a different time in a different place so that you can digest these steps. Because you burn out real easy. You burn out like really.
I have lately, and I think it's a combination of the last 5 years playing it all out in my head and writing it down in a journal and living it every day and being angry. And you're right, I just was writing some things down today, and you're right on key, because part of it was saying, what do I need to let go of that's good for me to continue on, right? So I it's funny that you are on the same track as what I just wrote down for the last few days for myself. But I know that what we have with our product and our CEO and his right-hand man, Steve Burns, that this is where I need to be. And I went fast and furious, like you said. And I'm a humble person and I like to be, recognized and all that. But when you're recognized over excessively, it creates animosity for other people
Yeah.
that, are jealous because why are they only focused? And that was my person who sponsored me.
Yeah.
And it was nasty. And
I
and
just heard,
I go ahead.
I just heard that's always going to happen no matter what. And I don't take pleasure in telling you this, but it's the same for me too. I literally just heard that. They're like, that's always going to happen. So part of the pain in that is figuring out like, what do I do with this? But there's a subconscious part of it where it's like you attach their reaction with somehow being responsible for you, even if it's partially so. And that's the part that needs healing. That also challenges your sense of urgency because healing this is going to take longer than it is going to take shorter. It's not going to be something that you just systematize your way out of or that you write down the steps to. You're going to have to feel into it. And this is actually a perfect segue. Ironically, so my guides are kind of laughing, but it's like I could really help you with this kind of thing um, through a program, through a healing program because it's something that a single session isn't necessarily going to get into. We've dug it up right now, but it's like you need help fleshing through things and the
This has
emotion.
happened to me in other situations my whole life. It's
Yeah,
it's personal. It's yeah.
it is. But you could really benefit from having somebody there by your side who's safe and who can help you guide through these things, not just the mental processes, but the spiritual ones, because it's not always it's not it hurts sometimes. It stings. It feels yuck.
Yeah, and then it takes me longer as I get older to work my way out of it. And I'm out of it now. I have a little residue, but I'm out of it. And it's like I don't want to quit because I'm not a quitter, but I don't want to have to be beat up by people that aren't worth the time or energy that I'm giving them.
Right? And you need some help figuring out who those people are and what those things are prior to investing so much into it, A, and B, recognizing when it's proper and when it's okay emotionally to let go of those people and things, regardless of how they're going to feel about it and how that's going to affect you. See, some of this is like boundary stuff too. But this is the paradox. It's like boundaries are good and bad. I've never liked talking about boundaries because in the popular it like love and light spiritual realm, so to speak, the woo-woo kind of stuff, they all talk about like boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. But boundaries limit us, just like walls. If you erect a wall, you can't pass through that. And a lot of times, if you can't pass through that or see what's on the other side, you blind yourself. So I like to talk about discernment way more than boundaries, especially because your superpower and your kryptonite are baked into the same gift where you can just break through the boundaries. Another way to word that is the arrow of your aura in human design. Arrows are not meant to be confined behind walls. I mean, you shoot an arrow for a reason to penetrate and to pierce through things. That's what,
That is my gate 51.
yeah,
And I'm not speaking up. I'm not, you know, sharing the next best thing. And I just feel like I've got to be the way shower and lead again, which I did. And I went fast and furious and I was on the, the hot seat of good, going and going and going. And then you get people that come in and they get jealous and they get whatever, and then they try to take you down off the top of the ledge. And I didn't let them completely because I knew better, but it fueled me to a sense where I was like, I'm not going to let anybody beat me. And
That
that I am competitive. I have competitive energy in my design.
I can tell. I mean, that's also what sort of got held you back and got you. So you're looking back at it and you're sort of beating yourself up and being like, I shouldn't have held in so long with that. I wasted all this energy and this effort and consideration on something that was totally beneath me. And it's okay to see that, but it's like, where do you go forward, right? How do you discern that? Because it's going to happen again. I mean, I knock
Mhm.
on wood as I say that, but that's what I feel and that's what I see. It because it has to. It's a sign that you're doing the proper thing. But, where I can help with that is to sort of guide you through this long process of discerning this. I mean, there's so much more that we can go through, but
Yeah,
as
well, we can talk about that,
yeah,
another
yeah.
time. But
Did you have anything
um,
else you want to bring up now? Because we do have to sort of wrap it up unless you want to go a little bit longer. I have one other appointment an hour from now. So I can go another 30 minutes. I just ask that you pay the difference of whatever that would be, since it's your first time reading with me. Um, because there's so many other ways we can go. We can also talk about this James boy,
yeah, that doesn't resonate with me very much.
doesn't it?
James, my sister has a son named James.
Really?
It doesn't resonate with me. No, not at all. My twins we've had a very hard beginning in relationship, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. But um,
Well,
their father, huh?
maybe he named himself because if you had this I'm seeing the number 86. I don't know if this was in 1986 when you had this um miscarriage. In my past life, I pick up on these so often, because in my past life, I was a woman who had a miscarriage and it completely devastated me. And I've also had multiple miscarriages, in this life too, with, with some significant others. And it's really rough. It's really tough.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not resonating with me.
okay.
It might be something else, but that's a whole nother ball of maybe another time. But
Okay.
I just didn't know what to expect today. But you
Yeah, what's
know,
the blue triangle about?
what was that?
What's the blue triangle about? I see this blue triangle. It's coming up again. Gonna ask them. It has to do with your pertinence. I just heard some male said that. You've got a group of like 15 people, all sort of like talking in and out with each other. And they're like, that's okay. That's not the point. The point is not who specifically it is, except someone just said, Bob's your uncle. Did you have like a jokester on one side, like a literal uncle? It was a male. He's bald and he's got like a comb over, like a very stereotypical like comb over his shiny head.
The only Bob would be Bob Andrews, and he's not my uncle. He's just, he's a sibling of my grandmother's brother,
Yeah.
son.
I feel like the
Um,
Bob's your uncle is like a joking phrase for
mm,
someone like he's like whoever this is a jokester type of person. It literally just came in so fast that
that
he
would be the Joe Bush who thinks he's a jokester and he's affected my life. I don't
I don't know. I'm just describing what
I
I
don't either.
and what I hear. I'm seeing Swiss cheese, a literal wedge of Swiss cheese. Does anyone else want to say? There's like a female who wants to pop through and say something right now. What do you want to say? She's very proud of you. She's giving like a grandmotherly vibe or like a great aunt. vibe.
Mm.
She's wearing glasses. She's got short blonde hair. I feel like she had color throughout. She had color in her hair up until very late in her life. So she didn't turn gray or white until kind of later on, like when she was 58, I hear.
Mm.
She's a little bit heavier set in her days, but
Alice, my auntie Alice, she was a big icon in my life, and she was wore glasses, and she was heavier, and had she wore wigs because her hair was so thin and it was gray.
did that happen like after 58?
I'm assuming, yeah.
Maybe she's joking around. No, she's not joking around with me. Is this, I wanted to ask if this is the same grandma that I was picking up earlier when you were talking, and I saw like ball jars or like canning. Somebody really likes cabbage, so maybe they made sauerkraut or like
My mom's mom.
okay,
And,
coleslaw, something around the lines of that.
yep. My mother, they were great cooks on both sides of the family.
I just saw rows and rows and rows of cans.
My grandmother canned a lot. My mom's mom. So did my mom.
They really support you. They just think that you I just heard someone say, tell it to her gingerly. Okay. Uh, you take on too many things at once and you take and you have to start like here's the irony though. I can tell you this and you can know this, but it's like, how do you do that? That's what a program working with me would help with. Just ask Margot. When I first started working with Margot, we didn't know how long it would be. But just ask her if she's willing to share all of the different layers that we've gone through, and she's made such huge transitions, even in like the first like couple of months that we started it off with, but it's like step by step. I feel like you need something similar with that, because the cork that we need to unplug first is like realizing internally and emotionally, not just in your head, because you're very good at wrapping things around with your head, but then you go way off a mile a minute and you get ahead of yourself. Um, like recognizing internally about like that less is more, but how do you choose which less to have? It's about it's just as much, if not more, about saying no to the things as it is about saying yes to the things. But for you, it's like, what do I choose? Which yes do I choose in my workings? Because you
Well,
could,
that's my problem is I don't choose because I put myself in isolation for a long time,
it's
and I
not
feel like I'm coming out of it now.
right. It's not sustainable though. You'll keep going through these processes. You'll keep going through these cycles again and again and again. And there's another underlying thing too, where it's like you feel guilty for having the cycle, period, to begin with. Because you feel like I should know this. I can see this. I know like you're extremely sharp. There's nothing wrong with your noggin, I just heard. There's nothing wrong with your brain. Everything right with your brain. And you're very good at putting your so you need to write more. Here's another subtopic. You need to be writing more. You need to be putting down your ideas and then organizing them a little bit later into like little packets or little folders. Then put them away in like a file cabinet. And then, like 6 months to 12 months down the line, then you can look through and be like, I might have a book here, or I might have an audio series that you can then record later and then, do some stuff with. But you got to figure out what your clay is first before you can polish it. You just don't have the logistics to help with that yet. And you also need to attract the right people to you in a certain way. And the caveat to that is the letting go part where you actually internalize it and you want it to the point where you actually want to have less in your life because you know it's more, but you're not quite there yet. I think you can see that and you can cognate that, but you don't trust that because of all that you've been through in life, not just about this going on with your workplace related stuff, but a lot that happened in your personal life growing up and also the rejection that you've had as a young woman. That I'm hearing about that right now too. The frustration in the dating world and having to select your partner. and in being betrayed there as well, and figuring out after the fact, oh, I've got to make some changes here because I can't. It's almost like you had to change yourself faster or sooner than you felt was proper or that you should have honored. It's like you've done a fair bit of grieving over losing part of yourself that never should have been lost. That's what it feels like to me. You might still have grieving to do with that. I
Oh,
mean,
I do. I know I do.
I'm seeing the number 16. I don't know if you've had some major trauma happen at 16 years old, or if it's been like 16 years of something, but 16 is the number right there, clear as a bell. And I'm seeing a farm, a silo, a blue sky with sparse clouds and seagulls, which doesn't make much sense. Why would there be seagulls on a farm? But I'm seeing seagulls. It could be, um, what do you say? What's the word? Symbolic. Thank you.
So we're not married. We met in 2000, I don't know, four, six, somewhere, it doesn't matter. But he's a farmer. He's now retired. He's rented out all of his land, and our home is smack dab right in the middle of 40 acres, and with silos and a barn. So, um, I've struggled with this relationship,
Yeah.
struggled with a lot of my relationships.
Yes, you have.
And as far as a book, that's been coming up in my brain as well. And I think it's writing the book about my life with my kids.
Let the subject or subjects or books, plural, show and reveal themselves after you have the material at least 75% of the way done, and you'll know it, you'll feel it, and it's certainly not now. I'm getting a number, but I'm kind of hesitant to even say it because then that's going to fuel some sort of expectation in you, and then you might use that as a ruler to measure yourself against when that time actually comes.
Yeah, I'm good with that. You can tell me.
2 years.
I, how many?
Two.
Two?
Yep.
Hmm.
Might have a couple
Yeah,
books.
and I thought I would write it. It's a true story, but I thought I would write it as you know, like those books where there's series of, the next best thing. I don't know why that came up with me, but I've been seeing the writing a book come up for me for a bit now. So,
Anything that helps you connect with people that relate to the story itself and how it
well,
feels to go through the human aspect of it, that's going to matter
a lot
way.
of it has to do with the court system, and you know all about the court system, and they're for the evil people, and that's my relationship with my twins and the ex-partner that I had. It was just horrific, and then I am the accuser, and then they like the people that do those, that I'm accusing about, and it was just a relationship with my twins that was centered around my time being court ordered, for years. And I made it through that. And, I mean, I came out the other side. And, I think that's part of why I'm with the partner I am with. He was that base for me and held that. He just listened to me, and he was very helpful in the whole situation. And then, they turn 18 and you think, okay, now our life's going to start. And no, still.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Um, but before we go forward, they're telling me to reiterate. Do you want to keep going? We can unpack it since it's right here. Do you have some time? It's totally up to you. We
So
can
that
do it.
would be an extra 75, you said?
Yeah. Yep.
So what are we going to unpack?
Right there. That relationship. Do you want to dig into that?
Okay.
It's
And then
got
I'll
some,
just Venmo you afterwards. Yep.
yeah, I
Okay.
trust you. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you.
Likewise. I
And I'm
know.
interested in working with you and what that looks like. And, I hope it's not going to be the same price as this, but you got a package deal or something.
I do. Yeah. So, and they go a lot longer too. We can talk about that after. But
Okay.
Margot is a great source to talk about that too, because she's been on like almost 3 years with me now. Uh,
Yeah. And you've helped her a lot. I've seen the change.
I know I am so proud of Margot. I am so, so proud. She's been through so much. And
That's kind of like what I've been through in a sense.
yeah, you have. You
Just a
have,
lot of things.
but it's like with you, you just want to whip at it like at a breakneck speed. And I understand why you do, because you are able to sort of like pick things up and process them and put them down. But the vast majority of the people in your periphery that you involve yourself with these so-called projects don't work that way. And so they need more time because they need more space to process things through. Um, this can be very, very challenging, like with this significant other. As you're describing him in this series of events that you've been through with the courts and with everything else, um, you being court ordered and all this and all that, I get the sense that it was just too intense for him. It was too much to process. And where you and him both lined up eye to eye is that you sort of want this sense of control over that which you're involved with. And that's what butt heads with you too, where it's like he needed to
So,
think,
so,
yeah.
so the person I live with is where we butt heads, and it sounds like more him who you're referring to. The person that I had the twins with, it was not a very long relationship. They're 26 years old today, but my daughter, who was 12, I know she's got some amazing abilities to see things too, but I didn't listen. She says, Mom, you should never have. He was my neighbor. And my joke is, don't ever screw your neighbor. You'll get twins. No, but got to
That
make
was a
some
good
fun out of it.
I feel like that was a great relationship for you to have, though, because it taught you both a lot. And you both did help each other, but it was very dark. It almost gives me like a twin flame vibe, but it is technically not a twin flame relationship. I just have to put that down. It the reason I say that is because it feels very karmic to me. But
Well, we had an investigator go in. Or we had a friend who was an FBI agent who had a friend who had a friend who was in the higher up FBI, and he told us to do whatever we could to get out of that house, get them out of the house. And there was just evidence all over. But again, we live in a government that is for all of that, as you can see coming out now these days.
I'm actually a victim myself in the 90s of all of that. And it's crazy. I guess I could share this with you. I wasn't going to share this, but it's like a lot of times when I channel, even in my own personal life as well as with other people, I will sometimes see physical locations in my own life that had a huge impact on me, positively or negatively. And as you started to talk about your twins, I was in this house of my babysitter who was the perpetrator, and her daughter is who sexually uh, fucked me up. I was seeing myself seated on the stairwell, and then in other times I'll be channeling with my own life or with some other friend or client, and I'll see myself like in that house in the kitchen or in the basement based on these different things that I went through because I also had my hand held in hot dish as it was cooking until I passed out from the pain as a punishment, so to speak. And then my mother was very clueless about that and all that and everything. Thing is, there's so much coming through right now. I'm gonna try and slow down and tell you what I'm getting from for you. Don't blame yourself for what you should have, could have, would have with the danger signs. And this has correlation to what we were talking about with the humiliation in your professional life too. It's sort of like you look past after something has happened, or rather that occurrence has happened, and you're like, gosh, I should have seen the writing on the wall. Why? did I not act accordingly? Because there have been moments where you feel a little something. But this is what's so difficult as a projector, because you're felt uh, guided and almost like it's your duty to work with what the world has because you need to shape it. It's here, right? Like, even though some people have like thrown it away, somebody's got to do something with it. Nature has to have a process with it, and you feel so in touch with nature in such a seamless way. Like, do you like flowers a lot? Maybe that's something you and Marco can really get along with.
Yeah, we do. And plants and beautiful things like that. Yeah.
Part of the reason you love that so much is it's like plants are kind of like this too. They go through these biological processes very streamlined. There's very little resistance that happens because they've been doing it over and over and over. And there's not this kind of angst that mammals or like animal life has about like scurrying about trying to find your resources and bring it to you. Plants are sort of just like, I trust, I am, I be. And then when the process is needed, like photosynthesis, swing, it happens like quickly, powerfully, intensely, and streamlined. There's no resistance to it. It happens. And you sort of beat yourself up for not having the calling, the image, the knowledge, the knowing, the feeling, the trusting happen in a similar fashion where you just know and you don't have to second guess yourself. You don't stop and think, I'm kind of confused about this now. Really? Like, I'm getting mixed messages. I feel like you kind of hate that. You don't like having mixed messages. You don't like that as a process that's necessary. You're sort of like sour about it needing to be a necessary process for you. There's a little bit of shame, a little bit, a little dash of that goes way back. I'm seeing the number 16 again.
Well,
That
2016 is then it was November, I can tell you, November 14th, 2016 is the day that I signed my agreement with Alavea. And I didn't even want to do it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And 2 weeks later I'm on stage saying this and this and this with two other kids that were autistic and never spoke a day in their life, and they were 14 and 16 years old. And I mean, it
oh
just
wow.
blew me away. And I had 15 people there, and all 15 of them joined. And I mean, we went fast and furious, and it was the most exciting thing I think has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And then you get the people that come in and they're jealous, and
Yeah.
then they start picking you apart, and then telling their lies and their webs, and just I'm sorry, but there's a lot of leaders in particular in my line that are up, 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 and kind of really should never, you always go up, you never go down on your downline to vent. And I got a loadful for months
Yeah.
about our leader and this and that. And then one day I just finally said, you know, our leader built a $1 billion company, and you're telling me he doesn't know what he's doing? And that was kind of the end of him coming and whatever. But I
Yeah.
was like a soundboard, and and that's distasteful for me to have leaders drag people down. And then if they're doing it and sharing that with me, they're doing that with saying that about me with them. So
Yeah.
I lost all my sense. I mean, I'm like a drill sergeant on ethics, you know?
So you felt quite betrayed. That's super betrayal right there because they brought you on board. But it's interesting with the language that you said, right? It's like you didn't even want to sign up, but you did. Why did you do that? Sort of a rhetorical question, because I know, but
Because I knew what we had as a product could change the world, and that's why I'm still there today.
exactly. There are many, many, many other products And there's 1,000, I'm hearing someone say this, that same gentleman, there's 1,000 different ways to screw on a light bulb holistically. Be the soundboard for whatever those happen to be.
And I have been. And I got wore down because I am a projector and I have only so much energy. And when I have nothing but vampires around me sucking my energy out,
I know. Should have been a manifester. Just
mm,
I joke about that with projectors a lot of times because I bet you wish you were a manifester, don't you? But I bet you don't. Um, what do I say? Where do we go? I wrote this down as you were talking about this. Challenge with success among all people when you're talking about going up the ladder and whenever you build something and you create it. And this ties what I'm about to say relates to what I was saying earlier in this. You'll have a recording so you can go back and look. Um, about now I lost it. Damn it. Bring it back. This relates. How does this relate? Let me say what I said, what I wrote down here, and it might come back to me. Sometimes it's literally I have to hop on it right then and there, or the train's going to push me off. There's always a challenge with success about like the higher you climb, the more difficult it becomes to calibrate yourself towards what brought you there initially. People lose themselves too easily the higher they climb because it becomes more and more about the process. And this creature that they build involves more and more like tendrils and other people and other incentives and values that it becomes this like marauding beast that nobody has the reins for. And it can kind of like take on its own energy, its own mentality. Okay, it came back to me. This has to do with what you said earlier about what I challenged in saying the way forward with these so-called new businesses is that business is not going to be businessy in the future. Uh, Marketing is not going to be markety in the future. And by that, I mean that what has worked in the past has gone through its course because people are going to be craving and needing authenticity more than anything else because it's going to the so-called market is going to be saturated with so much crap that people aren't even going to know is if it's true, who said it, who produced it, what incentives there are. There's going to be nothing to go off of. It's going to be purely generated. And for what? There is going to be a large portion of society that people that are going to want that, but not in a good way. The ethos of that is going to be so off what your own guidelines are that you were talking about earlier about like strict ethics. You probably prize authenticity. You probably like truth. So do I. I'm a big truther. I love truth. People who value truth don't care if we're wrong if the truth reveals to us later on. Like the people who value safety are going to get real irritated by that because that's going to challenge whatever notion they were clinging to. So we're going to get really polarized in the future, uh, meaning 1 to 2 years only. And I stand by that. I'm channeling it now, and I've been channeling it for the past year. 1 to 2 years tops. People are going to be craving more and more and more authenticity. And that's going to mean showing the roughness around the edges. It's going to mean a lot of things that are different than what you'd expect it to mean. So there's going to be a lot less focus and energy with regards to how do we record this? How do we broadcast this? Who are we going to strategically collaborate with? What are the best times to show this? What are the best things to say in scenario A, scenario B? How are we going to beta test this? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of the nitpicky details that we could iterate with are not going to matter as much as what's the soul of this project? How big is the project? How many targets does this project have simultaneously happening at the same time? I.e., like you and Margot and this other third gal are in like a totally different landscape and have totally different vibes and goals than what the creators have in mind. So that's why it's like stratifying. It's sort of pulling this organization apart and not in a good way necessarily. Unless you
Yeah.
and this third gal, whatever, decide to do something with that and create your own company doing your own things that are Alovea like, but just in a
Yeah,
different.
but we can't, we got to have, right.
Yeah.
And you said it, being part of Alovea, but creating our own way of going at it, which that's why it's called, it's, business of whatever, and I just feel that, and I know who you're talking about, that third person, and that's who I ran with in my first. She was the one who signed me up the night that 2014 at 11 o'clock, 2016. Her and her husband, Dave. And I run really well with people because like I only have so much energy and I got to focus the energy and the drive in the direction and let the people that can talk about all the product and how it goes, not that I don't, but in depth, those are the people that come behind me.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm good at, is I'm good at creating, you know, the people and guiding the people. And that's what I'm here to do, direct, guide, and manage when
Uh,
they want me to. And I just, I feel I follow this gal who's also a projector, and I mentioned this with Aika, and she was gonna go check out her because I love her style because that's who I am. So, a lot of people, don't get down into the muck where people are. They're superficial, and um, we're all the same. We all have different, but our hearts and our feelings, we feel, we love, we have to drink water, we have to have air and breathe, right? But this gal is speaking to me so much and has for a long, long time. So she's right now doing a series and podcast, which I'm going to be working with Ika about and all that, because I feel that that's a big place where I need to get myself, you know,
you'd
built
be,
back up.
oh yeah, you'd be great at podcasts.
And so she's really graceful, and she's got professional pictures and dresses, and it's just, that's just who I am too. I love that. And but she leads with, leaders shouldn't have to be pressured all the time to lead.
Yeah.
No one should have to feel pressured in any type of business, direct selling, or whatever you want to call it. And everyone is pressured to get themselves out there, whether they do it right and bad. I'm a perfectionist. I want to do it right the first time because I don't want to backtrack.
A lot of that
But I know.
a lot
Hmm?
of that has to do with society itself as a pressures because people there's this sort of modus operandi, like this typical user manual for a or an average success story that I've butted heads with a lot as a manifester because I feel and I know intuitively that there has to be another way to do this
Mm.
that will work for a lot of people, but it's coming. And it's like it's right on the periphery, which is why it's getting my feet itchy. Um, but what you're talking about is very real. You said it perfectly. It's like as people get more successful or as they build businesses and they create these structures, that pressure naturally happens. Well, I'm willing to say that it's not just because of their own individual internalized pressure. It has everything to do with, okay, well, that's just how it is. And the reason it's how it is because that's what's been created. That's what's been structured since the 1960s, essentially. That's when the marketing landscape was sort of molded. And they knew what they were
And we
doing.
have to shift it. We have to shift it for today's world. And
Yes.
no one wants to add another thing to their list of things to do.
No.
We want to be efficient, and we want to be able to help people, but create for ourselves as well, to give back. And I just feel like Alovea is just, it's division. And I've said this before to the third person that you were referring to, and she's kind of a follower too, but she's mad and angry with the same things I am, but she doesn't really yet go where me and Margot go.
She's a generator, perhaps.
She's a manifesting generator.
Oh, really?
So
Maybe she just
she's got a
thinks,
lot of energy. So is Margot.
yeah. But I mean, we live in a generator world, so a lot of us believe that we ought to be living like a generator. I mean, I was a biggest sucker for that for the longest time too. You grow up in a society, and especially as a manifester, just being me pisses people off just naturally. So it's natural to internalize that and be like, well, I'm the problem. So I grew up for a good 20 years of my life plus thinking I was the problem and I had to change and I had to do this. It was all about self-help and self-improvement, and that itself can be an escape, spiritual bypassing, vibe high. I'm really skeptical, or not skeptical. I'm very opposed to that. I'll always speak against it whenever I hear it now because I used to be one of those people that was on board with like vibe high, only think good thoughts, law of manifestation. I'm completely you know, whatever my reality is, it has 100% to do with whatever I'm doing or not doing. A lot of that is just spiritual bypassing. But
Society's fear and loss, fear and loss, fear and loss, fear and loss,
yeah,
you
you know,
know?
like you said too, a lot of the challenge with the companies themselves is it's like they literally are social organizations, but the bigger they get and the more complex they become, the more they break down. And I see a future necessitating many, many more small organizations and companies that are not just willing, but demonstrate working together for win-win partnerships.
And
And
that's where we were.
yeah,
That's where we were with Alovea. And then Sam lets all these people come in and they mess things up, and Sam is the most sweetest hearted man. I mean him and his wife and his family, and that's why I'm here too, because I truly believe that we're going through a growth period and weeding out the shit. And we just all here who are waiting to grow, we just keep moving until we get to that point where the trend changes, or we can get back to not where we were, but to identify something different going forward for us all to grow into something that isn't division, separation. We have to come to that common goal, and we are an army, and it's going to take an army to feed 7 million children, and that's when we will have eradicated malnutrition.
yeah.
But you get these people like the Joe Bushes, and their hearts are in the right place, but they don't have any place being the front line when they have no personality and only connect to his type of personality, which is probably the majority of the people. I don't know, but that isn't me,
I just
and
wrote,
I shouldn't. Mhm.
no, sorry.
Go ahead.
You shouldn't have to
No, go
do
ahead.
that. I wrote this down as you were saying this. Division ironically leads to togetherness when it comes to Alavea. That's what might be ironic in this situation and what could be the bottleneck for that organization specifically, in that so many people are clinging to the past ways, in that it's like, oh, well, this is what a company does. We hold together. Let's figure out how to problem solve. Well, maybe the natural splitting apart needs to be embraced to the point that they could be like divisions of Alavea. They could be individually owned, or they could be like subsidiaries. I don't know. There's a million different ways you could slice it, but that would be like working together as these separate, like satellites.
Entities. Yeah.
Yeah, could be like
And we each individually have our own businesses, and we can do that, but we have a common hub, and the hub is trying to sell something that was worked back in the 90s.
yeah, yeah, it's not going to work these days. And there's too much ego involved in that. It's like it needs to be less about the specific product and more about what can we do to actually help in the ways that we are saying we can or that we want to. And or
Keep
the
up
ways,
with the tides of connection. where we're at right now today with, you and Ika absolutely know that where we've been is not working anymore. So we can't keep regurgitating the past.
Yeah. Well, another part of the problem too is that the past works so well in the past that that's what people are clinging to.
Yeah.
It's this modus operandi. It's this like, oh, well, that's just the way things are. This is the user manual. It's just the way it is. That's the thing that just irks me more than anything as a manifester because not that's like so
Farthest from the truth.
yeah. I like to pull rabbits out of my hat because that's what life is to me. I mean, like as I'm like surfing through the cosmos and it's like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's brand new. Oh, that's cool. And then give it to the rest of the tribe and be like, what can you do with this?
I
So
agree 100% with you there.
yeah, it's just you and I can sort of relate in the pushback that we get from society. It's very difficult individually to come to terms with that because we are unfortunately the scapegoats and the witches that are easy to target because we speak up about it first before anybody else does. We're
Isn't
vocal.
that true? Mhm.
We're
Yep.
designed
And
to be
I'm a
vocal.
trend center. I like to set new trends, and it's distasteful for me right now with the way that, this girl, is I,
Yeah.
I'm just, but I don't have to be part of their part, right? I
Correct.
could be my own
Correct.
part of my part because I
Like,
health for everyone, business is my own.
right, you know that, but you don't like that here. You really don't
No,
like that. That's not,
no.
so that's what we'll be working on going forward with you. How do you embrace your emotional side to this? The slow and the messy process that reveals itself to you as you do it, not before. Because a brain process shows you what it is before you step on it. But a
Mhm.
heart process allows you to write about it only after you go through it. So there's no way for you to know what it is before you step. That's the scarier than shit part.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep, and then the person I live with has been a blessing to me, but I've paid every bit of the price for everything he's ever done for me. He treats me very, he doesn't he doesn't hit me or anything like that. And I just finally, and it was probably I needed to, you know, toughen up a little bit, but he's harsh, and he's very harsh in so
Yeah,
many ways. And I have just blocked that all out. It's not me, it's him. And I've worked through all that, but still he's not a nice person.
right.
He tries to be, but he's not. And he grew up in a family that, his dad was his dad. I mean, his siblings and himself took his dad down to get divorced from their mother. So, if
Wow.
that says anything, a really different types of relationship. I think there was a lot of abuse mentally, probably for him from
Yeah.
his mother, and just, I mean, I stopped having intimate relationship with him, for the last probably 5 years. And then he goes in and he reads the Bible and he says, "Oh," he says, "well, you're not married, so you're a prostitute." And I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Wow, there's so much to
That,
talk about.
oh my God.
There's a
It's
lot
like
with
go
that.
ahead.
Um,
Hmm?
let's table it for next time because they're telling me we could do a whole session on that alone. We probably should because like I drew this too while we were talking. This is what you
Hmm.
do, by the way. You take this point A to point B, and then not only do you draw a line, but you pew, 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 pew. You do this. You create new things to consider. You create line C, B, D, E, F, and G, and then you make attempts to connect it. But your frustration is that you need actual energy to do this. You can't do it yourself. Um, so it would help to have a manifester or a manifesting generator or manifester with generators present. But yeah, let's table this. So next time, because I feel like there's going to be a next time, I'll write it down. We'll talk about your relationship with this man. Um, Is he, so you're not married though? You said that.
No, he's a
Um,
generator. We'll be together 22 years this June.
so,
It's not that he's not a good man. He's just
oh, I
not
get
nice.
it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot that I could help with regards to you and him, but especially just like doing sessions with you for you to see these different perspectives and for specific tools. This is a good segue. Specific tools that you can do, like practices. I wanted to get into that today, but I guess we didn't have time for it. But I want to do this with you next time when we start. I'm going to show you some practices to do. Um,
And you probably already know this, but I have a fear. I mean, a lot of people have said you just need to move and get out of there. And it's like, oh my God, well, where am I going to go? And what if happens? And, I'm tied into him so deep. The vehicle's his. I mean, it's the how, I mean,
we'll get
I'm
to
so invested right now that it would be stupid for me to leave.
Well, I get it, but do you see how this is like a parallel to what's been going on with you in your job? It's the same pattern. I'm not saying it to poo-poo you.
No, 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 I know.
Yeah, yeah. I've had this, and a lot of this is with my mother too. My mom has had this issue. My mom is a projector, and my father's a manifester. So it's even more difficult because like when my father got angry growing up, she didn't have anywhere to turn. And then she also felt like, oh my, I'm like so invested in this, I can't leave him. And there were so many times for me growing up as a kid, wishing my parents would get a divorce. I wanted that. I love both of my parents, I still do, but just recognizing that as a child, like how toxic this is and how it bleeds out to the children too, especially if you have like young kids growing up, which you don't right now, but it's like, um, I get
It
it.
wasn't that way when the girls were here and growing up. It was different.
Right.
Even though he was still kind of, that narcissistic, behavior and
Yeah.
whatever, but he generally he's a good-hearted person. He is, but where I'm concerned, where he looks at me, I don't know. It's just changed.
And
And
want to make things work out, but he's so domineering. That's the issue too, because it's like he has a hard time with vulnerability.
oh,
Uh,
he does. And he doesn't have respect for women.
it kills intimacy. Well, it see like we can go on and on and on, like I said, but on our next time, I'll message you later and we'll figure that out. But on our next time, I want to dive right into that immediately, and I'm going to make a note of it next time. Start with
Because I probably should have left 5, 10 years ago and I didn't. Because I feel stuck and don't want to be in fear of problems outside of things that may never happen, but fear of taking care of myself.
whether you did or whether you didn't, it makes little difference for what opportunities you have with spirit and what this is about. I'm going to help you with it.
Mhm.
So we'll do that for next time. Start with the practice.
And I think this has been my whole life with men in my life.
I've had a very similar pattern with women.
I mean,
It's
my ex-husband, yeah, I understand. My ex-husband and I are still friends to this day, but he holds a torch for me still. He never remarried and I never did either. And he had two other children with two different women, and then I had my twins with, the next door neighbor. And I mean, I don't, and then with Brian, the miscarriage, but I just, we have a civil relationship, him and I, but my daughter just told me her father, my oldest daughter, said he keeps telling her, "Oh, we could have had it all. We could have had it all." No, I don't believe we could have because I wouldn't be the person who I am here today, knowing I'm a projector and knowing these woo-woo stuff. I would never ever had that type of life with him. It was just, the normal, you know, back in the 50s type relationship life. And that's how you live life. And that's how you do that. You don't veer left. You don't veer right. You do the same thing for the rest of your life until you retire. It's just, that was not me. And I had no problem walking away from that marriage. I was only married a year. We dated 5 and then, only had the one child, which was the best part of everything. But it's been a series of And I think my dad and I don't have a very good relationship now, either now, because I can see that he just is a person who, and I think this comes from, he's born in 1940, is like if you got the money, which his family did, you own the world. You can domineer people because you can just give them the money and then they do what you want them to, you know what I'm saying? It's
Do. There's so much to unpack here, which is why like I said before, like when we do these um, programs, it'll be like one thing unravels and there's a string that leads to another and another and another, which is why it helps so much to do this. Um, so I'll give you this brief description of it, but I really got to get going. Um,
Yep.
a program like what I do with Margot, by the way, reach out to her, ask her what it's like. Um, every 2 weeks, an hour-long session. We do reading, healing, or both. A quick description of the healing that I help with. So it's basically soul work. If you look at like Reiki or any sort of other like energy work, that's different. So that works with your direct chi or your direct energy. I work with the soul parts of people. So it's sort of like saying I work with the driver of the vehicle rather than working with the body of the vehicle directly, because the driver is ultimately in charge with how that vehicle is going to be driven, and the driver is their own mechanic too, whether they realize it or not. So,
I
the-
addressed my soul today. I
yeah,
addressed my soul today for me to be able to have this conversation and that I would get something out of it.
I can tell. And you're wearing purple too, I've noticed. That actually helps a lot with it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
didn't notice that. The yellow and the purple, great combination, by the way. So what else was I saying? Okay, so yeah, we're gonna hop on that right when we get to the next session. I'm gonna reach out to you later because I gotta get going, but try to
Yep.
schedule another session in within the next 2 weeks or so. The reason I say that is because it's gonna give you a feel for what the program's gonna be already, for about an hour long each session. And then it gives us a crucial time in between sessions for you to unpack stuff and to digest what we go through. There's a lot that's going to pop up later, even some of the stuff that you didn't resonate with in the beginning uh, of the session.
James. James. Yeah.
Right. And there's some other stuff too. I can't remember at the moment. I never remember any of this stuff, which is why I record these. And I'm going to show you the recording. I'm going to post it up, but I highly, highly recommend you go back and look at it. And anything that sort of like pops up for you, um, take a note of it, just rehash it. It's going to help you. And then as soon as we get to our next session, I made a note of it. We're going to get right into the healing portion of what we can do. And then it's going to lead naturally. I can already see it. It's going to segue into what sort of the tail end of this session has been with your significant other and with everything that you just sort of like talked about. Because we could be here for hours and hours and hours just on that topic alone. And I like that because that means that we have a lot to heal and there's a lot that I can help you with. So uh, let's do that. I'll send you a Venmo request again. We'll appreciate that if you send that to me today, and we'll go from here. How's that
And
sound?
then that sounds great. So can you kind of break it down for me for the healing process, that how you do it with Margot,
Yeah.
that whatever that is? And then go ahead. Oh, you're just yeah.
Yeah.
I just my first time, so I don't know
Sure.
what
Sure.
all that looks
Um,
like. And
yeah, I think it would actually be really helpful to look on my YouTube channel. I'll have Ika send you a couple of links of the healings themselves, because I can describe it, but it's fun to watch it on people because the process itself isn't really like strictly through like step one, step two, step three. It's very intuitive. So it looks different from each person, but a lot of times there's like I'll draw shapes with a person's soul parts, and then you will feel things occur.
the
You'll
triangle,
you'll get,
the
yeah, for
blue.
example, yes, I get a lot of those. But a lot of people who I work with that are sensitive and have abilities like myself and like yourself, you'll see things. I get the feeling that you're going to get visuals. Specifically, you are going to get visuals as this comes through, and you'll have like random memories, shoom, like quickly come through that are going to make so much sense to hash after the session. I'm going to be drawing lines of like, I don't even know what to call them, like soul connection type stuff from past lives, from current lives, from your guides that come through and like they show me their hands and what they'll like actually help me with whatever the process is, if it's like a psychic surgery type of deal. There's a lot of like reorientation, recalibration, like straightening things out and like pulling muck out and putting it back into the earth. So a lot of times there's like singing or there's like noises, there's sounds, there's languages, there's extraterrestrials that come through. It literally happens from case to case. It can be so different. And some people need like 5 minutes, other people need the whole freaking session to do the process. Some people I'll get like a heads up about what it is going to look like beforehand. Other people will have no idea until it happens. For you, I have a little bit of a like, okay, this is going to happen. I think it's going to be a little bit on the shorter side, 15 minutes if you want to be exact. You're going to get visuals. It's going to help you collect your thoughts in a way that we can process them without putting them all on the table at once to have to hash through like a systematic thing like step one, step two, step three. Naturally, that's what it's going to do. And it's going to help you basically just align yourself spiritually so that you can help us bring about this process of your healing. A lot of it is going to be unknown specifically for you because you need to be challenged on the unknown period regardless. A lot of what you do is you try to look ahead and you want to know everything that's behind the corner, but a lot of the best healing comes from you not knowing anything until it happens.
When you were doing this with your head like a triangle, it
Yeah.
just popped in my head. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, there you go.
Like a triangle.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
And I'm actually getting even more stuff about that too. But we have to get into the next session, otherwise I'm gonna miss my appointment.
No,
Um,
I understand.
we'll get right into it. So it's powerful. Ask Margot, like, what is that like? The soul healing part. I call it ethereal calibration or EC, just to have a label for it. So because people wanted a name for it, so I gave it a name. And then I'll have Ika send you a couple of links on the YouTube channel of me doing it on people so you can see what does it look like on like certain examples. And you'll see exactly what I mean by this description. It's kind of hard to nail it down, but it sort of looks like Reiki, but it's totally definitely not Reiki, even in the slightest.
Well, I really appreciate it. And I don't normally like to talk and air things about myself. I always just keep it inside, but so I might have kind of over talked with you today, but
Such thing. This is exactly what I'm here to help you with. I love what I do and you need it. And this is why I do what I do. Because people like you on the front lines need this healing. If you're a healer,
yeah.
it's going to heal the healer.
Very well put. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And
All
we'll
right.
see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Send me your Venmo thing, and then I look forward to the things that Ike is going to send me.
Absolutely. All right.
Have a
See you later.
wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.